Hello and good morning, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, good morning, and thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Marc-Antoine, and welcome to this Miami Live
Looks like
2020.
everything is working.
I'm very pleased and very happy to welcome you all to this roundtable, first roundtable of day 2 of Miami Live 2020. It's a roundtable about Florida Healthcare and Life Sciences Hub. We've been talking a lot yesterday about tech in Florida, and definitely life sciences and healthcare are very booming in Florida, in Miami area. So it's going to be a very exciting and interesting roundtable. This Miami Live 2020 has been put together by the French-American Chamber of Commerce of Florida. So thank you very much for organizing this event. It's really exciting. And we have designed this event for you. You are at the core of everything the Chamber does. And you're here to meet and greet some of the finest professionals here. They have a booth. All our sponsors have a booth. It's in the expo menu. So on the left-hand side of your screen, you can go there, meet with them, have a one-on-one, and also register interest. If they're not present on the booth, you can still get in touch with them and really get a lot of insight and value from their expertise. And also on the right-hand side of your screen, there is the chat box, which will allow you to chat either for the event, which is to all of our attendees, or to the people in the session, which is right now, you are in a session if you're watching. So you can directly send a message to our panelists that we will introduce you in a couple of minutes. And also, so ask questions or comment, please reach out. Don't be shy. Don't be shy at all. We're here for you. So we love to engage and communicate with you. So do the same with us. Right next to it, you will have people. That's the menu where you can directly look up a name that you want to connect with. And that's your qualified networking. You can directly contact your people you want to chat with, either here or on LinkedIn or on their website, and that's how you can really do your qualified networking. If you want some more randomly networking, you can go on the other side of your screen, which is in the left-hand side, in networking, and you'll be connected every 5 minutes to a new person, and that's certainly random, and that's great. That way you can get to see who's behind the screen. That's always fun. All right, so we'll get started with our table this morning. Again, thank you for tuning in and welcome to Miami Live 2020. This morning, our moderator will be Robert Mino. Hi, Robert.
Hello.
Hi, and thank you for joining us. Robert, you're multitasking. You're really a strong element in life sciences and healthcare for healthcare companies. You have a certificate in regulatory affairs for pharmaceutical and medical devices from RAPS, and also certificate in copyright law from Harvard Law. So tell us a little bit more about how you interact with medtech and biotech companies in Florida and in Miami, and you will be able to introduce our speakers this morning.
Thank you for that introduction. Yes, my name is Robert Mino, and I'm a patent attorney by training. I've worked with a number of life sciences companies, early stage companies. I've had 2 biotech companies of my own, and I've been involved in the life sciences in the state of Florida for over 25 years. So Miami 2020 asked me to join the panel because I have a lot of experience both across the state and locally in the South Florida life sciences industry. And I'm happy to help share that information with anybody who would like to connect, however we can help you to understand what's in South Florida. I'm also the chief science officer for a cosmetics company called Regenex, and we're working on cutting edge biotech related to cosmetics. And if anybody has any interest in the cosmetic industry, we'd love to talk to you about that. As I introduce our co-panelists today, first of all, I would love to introduce Nancy Torres Kaufman. Ms. Kaufman is going to wave her hand. There we go. So welcome to the panel. Ms. Kaufman and I had the pleasure of meeting about 2 years ago when she chose to open a life sciences manufacturing and incubator facility in Jupiter, Florida, which is in South Florida. And she'll tell us more about that in a bit. But we are pleased to have her facility in our community and have her part of our life sciences industry. And I think you're going to hear why as we go through our questions on the panel. I'd also like to introduce Daniel Tepper. So Daniel is born in France, but he's now in America running a multi-state based life sciences company to offices across the country. And he's going to share with us what it's like to have a company that has a Florida facility, but also what it's like to have a life sciences facility across the country, and maybe a little bit of the color related to his French background. Finally, last but not least, Genesis Ramirez. Genesis runs Life Sciences South Florida, and Life Science South Florida is the bridging umbrella organization for academic research facilities across the South Florida area. And she's going to share a little bit more about that with us when we get a chance to ask some questions. So with that, I guess I can start with Genesis. As I said, last but not least, tell us about Life Science South Florida.
Sure. Thanks, Robert. And thank you all for tuning in. We're so excited to have this discussion with you all. So Life Sciences South Florida has been in existence since 2012. It was sort of the brainchild of our president at FIU, Dr. Mark Rosenberg. And the goal of Life Sciences South Florida as a coalition was for universities in the South Florida region, as well as research parks and the economic development councils, to come together to leverage our knowledge and resources in order to foster and support the already quickly growing life sciences industry here in the region. So that's how it came about. Our main focus is with young talent, with students at our 12 local colleges and universities, both public and private. So we do hold events each year to bring our most talented STEM students together to hear what they're researching, to see how they're applying laboratory research to the community and how they're improving the community through research. We also are open to developing advisory councils with the universities, between universities and industry, to make sure that we're bridging the academic expertise with what's needed within industry in the current moment. So that's an exciting part of our work and a unique part of our work. Academic institutions haven't traditionally partnered with industry so closely in terms of getting industry input in order to make sure that our curricula match the needs of the workforce. So that's a little bit about what we do.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And so I'm going to move to Daniel really quickly. As I mentioned, your company has offices across the U.S. Tell us about your company and what it's like doing business as a biotech company in the U.S.
Sure. So, as you mentioned, I grew up in France, but, most of my professional experiences in the U.S. and, I'm a serial entrepreneur in biotech. And the most recent company is Cytovia Therapeutics, which we started in the summer of 2019. We focus on novel approach to cell therapy for cancer. And, we started in New York and this partnership with the New York Stem Cell Foundation, but also with the University of California, San Francisco. Our chief scientific officer is in Boston. So yes, we're multi-location. I did have the pleasure to live in Florida for about 5 years, 10 years ago. And, I decided, I would say more for personal than strategic reason, to move back to Florida last March, not directly related to COVID, personal choice, but I think Florida is very attractive in terms of work-life balance, and people tend to say it's only about lifestyle, but I think that today in 2020, Florida is a great place to grow companies in different industries, including in biotech.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you for that. And And I think it helps our guests to understand sort of some of the decision process, but also to understand South Florida and some of the opportunities that are here, which leads us to our next speaker, Nancy. So Nancy, tell us about Beacon Capital and the Beacon Pharmaceutical Jupiter project, if you wouldn't mind.
Good morning, Robert. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to be here and share a little bit about Beacon Capital and Beacon Pharmaceutical. My name is Nancy Torres Kaufman. I run a family office which is focused on impact in the healthcare space. And since 2009, we've been working to generate impact, particularly in the therapeutic space, mainly because we feel that this is an area where we can make quite a bit of a difference, considering the therapeutics have the potential of not only improving the disease, but having a disease-altering effect. Our family office started in New York, and we've been fortunate enough to have the opportunity to invest in 39 companies to date. And throughout the process, we became a very hands-on investor. We realized that most of the companies that we were investing in required advisory services and a little bit of hand-holding, because you have very brilliant individuals who are looking to take their IP and move it forward to commercialization. And they are faced with the challenges of running a company, which often requires not only advancing the science, but being able to take the product through the regulatory process, and also being able to raise capital, which is what is the blood supply to the company. So in 2016, we acquired a facility from Novartis Pharmaceutical in order to take all the knowledge and all the background we gained in the last 12 years, and just to be able to encompass that underneath one roof, and be able to provide the companies that we invest in and the companies that we foster with the ability to have access to their manufacturing, scale up for commercialization of product manufacturing, and capital raising and advisory services, and all the products and components that these bright CEOs and executive teams require in order to take their companies to the next level. Also decided to expand our investment offering and capabilities to medtech devices and other up-and-coming areas of healthcare, whether it is preventative or regenerative medicine. So in 2019, a little bit before 2019, we were approached by Robert, who saw our press release announcing our project into New York, and we were recruited by the city of Jupiter and decided to build a 160,000 square foot smart building, which is aiming for elite platinum certification to manufacture pilot batches for clinical trials for our portfolio companies, but also to bring those companies into the Florida region, so they can benefit not only from the academic prowess as we were previously talking about, but also from the quality of life and the great benefits that the state of Florida represent for companies looking to attract talent, and being able to provide some further benefits that come from some of the fiscal benefits that come from being in the state of Florida. So we're very excited to have the opportunity to build this facility in Jupiter, and with that to be able to leverage the amazing foundation that's already been built in the last 20 years in Florida in order to develop the state as a life science ecosystem for the U.S.
Thank you, Nancy. We certainly will get into understanding more about how you made the decision to come to Jupiter. One of the things that I think that I'll add to what Nancy had mentioned, though, since she already brought it up, is the idea that the state of Florida has made significant investments in life sciences over the past 20 years, from incubators in the middle of our state up in Gainesville area to Jupiter, Florida, where Nancy is looking to put her facility, which we have the only North American location for Max Planck. And of course, those on the call from Europe recognize that Max Planck is the highest rated research institution in the world, and having its only research facility in North America located in Jupiter, Florida, is just a testament to the type of research that we have there, next to Scripps, which is the highest rated American institution outside of the Max Planck that's located next door to it. So really, we have a fantastic cluster forming in Jupiter for innovation, and we'll have Nancy share more about that. But first, I would love to return back to Genesis. And so Genesis was sharing with us that Life Science South Florida is the regional umbrella program connecting the region's life sciences academic institutions. And I would like to have Genesis share with us about how the members, tell the members about how they can get talent through these academic institutions, like how Life Sciences South Florida helps to make sure that the talent in South Florida can help companies relocating from Europe to Florida to make sure that they have their talent needs met.
Right. Thanks, Robert. So some of what we do is host, as I mentioned previously, 2 annual symposiums now. And at these undergraduate symposiums, students have the opportunity to present the research that they're currently undertaking. Of course, we have their faculty members present and community members as well who are involved in industry. These platforms, usually done in person. Now, this year, we've officially held our first symposium virtually. We'll have another one in April. Are platforms where networking happens. So industry and community members get to meet young, emerging scholars and talent and researchers. So these are important spaces that Life Sciences South Florida coordinates, implements, and executes, right? So that these relationships and connections can happen. Life Sciences South Florida, as I mentioned before, so the 12 public and private academic institutions that are in this region are part of it, as well as Max Planck and Scripps Research. And so, as many of you already know, Max Planck and Scripps Research have a very tight, strong connection with academic institutions, strictly academic institutions as well. And so, for example, Max Planck partners with FAU High School to train students as young as high school age to begin their training on how to conduct research, and also with a focus on how research in the laboratory transfers to community change. And that's something that, as FIU being the sort of hub of where life sciences stems from, we're very focused on. So we're very, very focused not only on the research, but the exact practical implications that research has. So we really like to focus with students on that. And now during these times, during this pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, it's been even more of a focus. So our most current regional event did focus solely on COVID-19 research being conducted by undergraduate students together with their faculty mentors, and specifically how the results that they have developed in the lab translate into community impact, not only within the South Florida region, but globally. The impact that the research can have on the medical world, the world of just health and wellness. And we also focused on equity issues, how science and research can really, really move the needle on equity issues. So we, as a coalition, we do sort of that extra support of bringing the students from the academic institution, connecting them a little bit more strongly with industry and what industry might really be interested. And as I mentioned before, Life Sciences South Florida was a connector, for example, with Barry University, their biology department, under an advisory council, so specifically industry members to be in the council with faculty in the biology department to make sure that curricula is matching what industry need. And so, of course, whenever other academic institutions reach out and want our help, our assistance in connecting with industry so that they can form these groups and communicate more clearly, and form these meaningful networks that will ensure that what we're doing as academic institutions is meeting the needs of new industry coming into South Florida, we are willing and we're ready and we have the resources to be able to do that. If there's anything you want me to expand on more, please let me know, Robert.
No, thank you for that. We appreciate that, Dr. Ramirez. Just to point out, you've done a fantastic job connecting these institutions across the geography of South Florida. South Florida is rated as the 12th largest MSA for life sciences across the country, if you look across the 80 miles from Miami to Jupiter. But with that, there is a significant geographic distance, as you will. And Genesis's organization has been instrumental in making sure those academic institutions are connected in the way she described. So thank you for that, Genesis. Daniel, I'm going to return to you. So you have operations across the country for your company. You came from France. You've been a multipreneur. Why did you choose to locate your company in Miami? You said personal reasons. Tell us more.
Well, as I mentioned, it's a personal choice, but there's other locations where you can decide to move for personal reasons. But I think that in 2020, South Florida is a pretty unique location for companies, and I would, for companies within the U.S. that are moving to an optimal location, but also for companies that want to have a U.S. hub that potentially are coming from Europe or for Asia. There's a lot of talent, and I think people don't realize that there's more to South Florida than beautiful beaches. There are academic institutions, there are renowned hospitals. We were talking the other day about the Sylvester Cancer Center at University of Miami, which is one of several, but that's a leading institution within the National Cancer Institute. So there's a lot of talent. At the same time, there's probably less competition than in Boston. Boston and San Francisco particularly Boston is the natural destination for people coming from outside of the country, and they don't realize that they're just the little guy in the middle of very fierce competition for talent. I think that in Florida you have totally qualified talent that for now have fewer opportunities. I think also what people tend not to realize is the access to capital that you have in Florida. I mean, not only a number of banks and hedge funds have either moved their headquarters to South Florida, but at the very least, they have offices here. I mean, as I'm sure you know, Blackstone is creating 200 jobs in Miami. The former CEO of Allergan is moved to Miami and is now a SPAC of over $500 million. As Nancy knows, the number of family offices, of course, investors. So there are opportunities that maybe don't exactly match what you have in Boston and San Francisco. But I would say coming from New York, there are probably more opportunities to raise capital in Florida for biotech and life sciences than there are in New York City. And if you're not part of quote unquote the club, I think it's very difficult to raise capital in Boston or San Francisco. So particularly the audience that we have today, people that are coming from Europe, it's a very long shot. Even if you have great entrepreneurs and great science, it's a very long shot to raise money in those hubs. So I mean, there are lots of reasons to do it, and now we have with Nancy, development of research and manufacturing infrastructure, which is very critical to growing companies fast. The final remark that I would make is that life sciences and particularly biotech have changed dramatically in the last 10 years. So I would say the incubation approach and stepwise approach that it takes 2, 5, 10 years to build a company is not in fashion anymore. I mean, the average time from creation of a company to listing on national markets like NASDAQ is now 2 to 3 years. And you see, Series A of as much as Series A, Series B, as much as $100 million. But in order to raise that amount of capital, you have to be able and you have to be willing and able to build your own research and manufacturing, infrastructure, and that's something that initiative like Nancy you have in Jupiter are critical, for companies to be able to say, yes, if you provide me the capital, I will, build an infrastructure with 20, 50, 100, scientists and engineers.
No, wonderful. Thank you for that. I would like to, on behalf of Anton and the moderator here, just ask that people not make personal comments or use profanity on the chat room. So we appreciate that. Apologize for that to everybody who had seen that. Going back to, I appreciate Daniel's comments, and certainly talking about financing and growth. One of the things that those coming from outside the country may not realize is that the United States has recently changed its tax code over the last 4 years. And the tax code used to have a different advantage for being in certain states. And now the tax code has changed. It advantages states like Florida, where we have a lower personal income tax and lower pass-through entity tax from a corporate tax perspective, such that we're actually seeing a significant amount of wealth. As Daniel mentioned, some of the hedge funds, venture funds, high net worth individuals are moving to Florida because of the tax advantages. And in that, we're seeing a massive shift. The number of billionaires that live in Florida is much greater. The number of millionaire households is much greater. The average net worth of Floridians has grown significantly over the last 4 years. And so that's a real testament to the opportunities there to raise capital, but also looking at the future. The long-term future will be where the wealth is. There will be more opportunities for life sciences companies. So that brings us back to Nancy. So Nancy is both in the investment space and also had mentioned that Beacon Pharmaceutical offers some outsourced services for these companies that she recognized from her position investing in these companies and some unmet needs. So you're offering outsourced manufacturing services, mentoring services. Can you tell us more about why you see this as the future of the industry?
Yes, Robert, I'm happy to answer that question. When we first started in 2009, as Daniel mentioned, companies were taking too long to get to commercialization or some sort of inflection point as far as their research and development. And the idea is that that's no longer acceptable. And many of the delays within this process and getting these companies to a commercial stage have to do with access to capital, but there is a key component that has been neglected over the years, and is mainly because of there's a barrier to entry to the manufacturing space because it's too cost intensive for these companies to have their own manufacturing capabilities. So the idea that the biologics manufacturing and the therapeutic space are growing exponentially, and that the generics manufacturing is becoming and small molecule manufacturing is becoming less and less prevalent, there's less and less capacity for up and coming companies to have the ability to get their clinical batches for clinical trials done in a timely fashion. So, for example, a company may be in queue with some of the top manufacturers from 6 to 9 months. That's 6 to 9 months where you have a burn rate and you're actually waiting to generate a batch, and you're not developing the company as fast as you should be. So if you think of the progression of a typical biotech or therapeutic asset, and then you think that between every clinical trial, let's say that they go through up to a phase 3 clinical trial, you are losing 9 months through the organization of every phase. That's tremendous amount of time that we can actually cut down and shave down of the commercialization process. As an investor, to be able to save 6 to 9 months of burn rate in the lifespan of building up an asset, which may be 7 years, and cut that down to 5 years, and also reducing the amount of time by keeping the companies well capitalized so they are able to move their R&D forward without any delays. That's bringing companies into market anywhere from 2 to 3 years earlier than anticipated before. So being able to provide the companies with this infrastructure and this ability to be well capitalized, we're not only getting products to market quicker, but we're getting the products to the patients that need it quicker. And we are making a great impact, not only for investors, but actually for the well-being of the patients, which is the main reason why most scientists and researchers sit at the bench trying to find a solution to everyday healthcare issues.
Thank you, Nancy. Always well spoken. I think what we've heard from Daniel and Nancy is that life sciences is changing, that things are going to be done differently moving forward. And there is a time value of money, and certainly the new processes will speed things along as opposed to the old model. And going back to Genesis to add a little bit more color on her organization and how she might be able to help companies through this new change. You work with a wide variety of academic institutions, Genesis. In addition to providing talent, how are they able to support incoming life sciences companies into our community? How do these academic institutions help companies to meet these unmet needs that Daniel and Nancy have mentioned are out there, or moving forward?
Sure. So something else that we do is provide, consulting, and we're the connector to that relationship between maybe a prototype, a very nascent researcher and small company, and then going into, let's say, experimental research on how whatever the device is working. Currently, I'm actually working on something like that with a local mother-daughter team of scientists who have developed something around the menopausal phase. And so we are now connecting them with a few universities to see how they can develop an experiment, join some PIs in the faculty and the academic side to test what they've created. So that's one thing. The other thing is, although Life Sciences South Florida does indeed focus on supporting the life sciences industry, we also have a very, we also have access to programs like academic programs such as the Internet of Things, logistics and supply chain management. And these are other areas that industry, companies coming to South Florida for the first time might need assistance with in order to make their transition even smoother. So as Life Sciences South Florida, as an organization that's connected with all the academic institutions, all academic programs, we also can very easily connect new industry with programs and talent that focus on supply chain management and logistics, that focus on the Internet of Things. So how to keep your company safe in terms of internet use, how to deal with issues of privacy and internet use, even marketing. So Life Sciences South Florida is just a very sort of diverse connector, I would say. Our focus is life sciences, but we also have our finger on everything else happening at academic institutions, all other talent. And, everyone knows that when a company moves, they need all different types of assistance, whether it's in marketing and supply chain and privacy. And so our institutions offer all of that. We're training individuals in all of those areas, academic areas. And so we are just an easy way to come to us and say, hey, we're in need of this expertise. Who should I talk with? Who should I get connected with? We can provide those connections and, provide those introductions and start those relationships. Another thing that we do annually is the LifeEase event. The LifeEase event is solely focused on connecting industry and young talent. So we invite industry and we invite young talent to come to network, to meet together. During this event, we highlight successful partnerships. So students who started off as interns at a company, at a local company, and now have a full-time entry-level position or have even grown over the years within that company. We like to feature that, and then we like to help those connections grow at this local event, which this year will be happening in February virtually. So if you want to know more about that, please give me, contact me. But that's something that we do too. And so the beauty of Life Sciences South Florida is that we're so plugged in with the academic institutions that we could help from marketing to supply chain to whatever else you may need. We are a good resource and we can plug you in with the right unit to help you get that service that you need.
Thank you, Genesis. Appreciate that. And I think that's an excellent point. It does mirror a lot of what Nancy was talking about, a lot of the adjunctive services that companies need. And to your point, you even broadened it out and said, listen, if you're really thinking about it from life sciences perspective, it's like any other company. It needs a lot of the core services, logistics, accounting, finance, legal, the usual services, whether they have them in-house or they outsource them. They're definitely going to need those talent areas, and it's a much broader, like any other company, a much broader ask. So it's great that you're there connecting beyond just pipetting in the laboratory, especially with Daniel's comments of companies moving forward and doing things a little bit differently than they did before. Speaking of Daniel, I want to go back and say, we talked before about the fact that you grew up French and now you live in South Florida. Is South Florida a welcoming place to live for Europeans looking to relocate? Do you feel that this is a great place for people to relocate from Europe?
Clearly there are places that are easier than others, and I'm not taking my particular case because I've been in the US for a very long time. I would say that there are locations in the US where Europeans and particularly French can fit in much better. And New York is a natural place because it's a big cosmopolitan area. But I think that Miami may even be more attractive because it has what New York has, and it has a lifestyle that is more in tune with the experience that maybe people in Europe have than New York City would. It is also much more friendly. It's more Latin, and when I say more Latin, is not only from because people speak Spanish, but it's a much warmer culture in terms of people talking to one another. People socializing. I know that we're living in kind of a COVID time, which is more difficult, but beyond that, it's natural. I remember even 10 years ago when we were in Florida the first time, is the first day you go out for a walk, you run into people and people introduce themselves as neighbors, and they talk to you, which is clearly not something that you experience in New York City. So, Nancy's smiling, but that's, that's true. That's part of the culture. So I think it's, in making the choice, and then some Europeans and French in particular in technology, not in biotech, but in technology, are fascinated by California and Silicon Valley. And they don't understand that even if their English is very good, they're totally outside of their natural, ecosystem. And they're also very far from their home base and their family. East Coast, including Miami, is much closer to Europe. So there are a lot, beyond the professional aspects. I think there are a lot of personal aspects that are important in making the choice, and particularly people that are moving with their family, they have to make sure that their family is going to be happy.
No, definitely. Thank you for that. And to that point, I think it's a great point to say that California and the 8-hour time difference does create significant challenges for those companies trying to keep a foot in France and a foot in California, as opposed to the East Coast, where you have a much shorter flight. You have better time zone overlaps to give you more flexibility to communicate with your transatlantic team. To the point about Miami and South Florida in general, yeah, the friendliness, there's year-round activity because of the warm weather. There is something fantastic about the Latin culture in Miami, as you pointed out. Nothing like sitting at a Cuban coffee shop, having a cup of coffee with neighbors or new friends, dominoes, people playing dominoes in the parks. something that is really nice and being able to walk on the waterfront. It is a great cultural aspect to South Florida, and we definitely cherish having that as part of our community. But I think it does lend itself to a better quality of life and work-life integration. So certainly versus some of the other hustle and bustle areas like New York, where you may have to actually commute 2 hours to be able to get to Manhattan from somewhere else in the borough outside of Manhattan. So with that, somebody who understands both New York commutes as well as Florida culture and Cuban Latin culture, Nancy. So Nancy, tell us a little bit about maybe what I just commented on, but also then why did you choose Jupiter, Florida for your facility? I think you may be on mute.
I have to start from an academic perspective. There's a really great foundation that has been built over the last 20 years, and very few. But when former Governor Jeb Bush decided to create this life science ecosystem, and the capital went to attract groups such as Max Planck and Scripps, and then the state of Florida decided to invest into bringing some of these academic institutions into the area. The IP and the research and the therapeutics and the products that we are looking to invest in, they start somewhere. They start at the bench. So the academic research and the work that the scientists are putting forward in order to be able to develop these assets and to create an initial concept is something that is extremely important in order to be able to build these ecosystems. So when we came to Jupiter, Florida, which we didn't know that it existed, and Robert was so kind to introduce us to this South Florida ecosystem overall, we looked at the and we decided that Jupiter, Florida was already had a great foundation with the many institutions and the academic prowess that was already there in order for us to build the accelerator. We felt that it would provide good opportunities to find great talent within the area. There's already a good amount of companies that are already centralized in that area, and we understand that in order to bring groups into the area and to bring other companies into the area, building an ecosystem and having employment opportunities for the CEOs and high C-level individuals is extremely important, because the life science industry and the cycle of these companies, sometimes some of these companies failed. So you need to have an ecosystem that's big enough that will be able to provide another employment opportunities to individuals who perhaps companies are sold, or they choose to start to develop a new asset, or the company failed and they need to, they find themselves that they moved all the way from, let's say, from France into Florida, and they need to find a new opportunity. So the ecosystem needs to be designed to nurture the people from an academic perspective. But then when we looked at the quality of life and the different economic incentives that are available for these companies and these groups, it just made perfect sense that we should continue, rather than reinventing the wheel, we should continue to add on to this ecosystem, which is kind of have been chugging along very quietly and hasn't gained a lot of notice from the national media or the global media. But I think sooner or later, with all the buzz and all the excitement happening all over Florida, not just Jupiter, I think this is going to become a state that is going to be really strongly recognized for the life sciences. And that little section of Jupiter, I believe, has the potential with the academic component, and then the fact that there are many groups that are moving into the Palm Beach area, financing groups and hedge funds that are moving into that area, that will make it so there's more capital available. And then individuals such as Robert. Robert has a background in legal services and also understanding the components needed to get these companies through. So through an ecosystem of individuals, along with the academic prowess, along with the quality of life, the beaches, the golf, the great culinary arts, the museums, I think it just makes a great mixing pot for an up and coming community. So watch out, Boston. No snow.
Yeah. Before we open it up to questions from the audience, I wanted to give Nancy a rare fourth question here, just to ask if you could give you an opportunity to pitch to the audience if there are any companies that are looking to potentially relocate here from France. Did you want to tell them about maybe the future services that you might be able to offer them, or why they should consider Beacon Pharmaceutical?
Yes, absolutely. I think from our perspective, companies that are looking to come into the U.S., we have the ability to provide these companies not only with the state-of-the-art physical space that would allow them to advance their research, but also we have the ability to provide them with capital in order to execute their day-to-day operations and to get their assets further along. The companies that are going to be coming into the Jupiter Accelerator will have access to manufacturing in mammalian cell, gene therapy, plasmids, and also viral vector. We have one of the top 5 world-class manufacturers coming to join us to run the CDMO. So we will also have a CRO. So when you are walking into our facility, you're finding yourself with a state-of-the-art space, the ability to scale up your product, to have your CRO, CDMO all under one roof, and then the ability to connect with an incredible ecosystem of academic resources. And then our goal for the companies that are coming into the accelerator is to make sure that they can focus on advancing the science, and we will make a commitment to those companies to help them not only to invest in them, but also to raise capital for their efforts to make sure they're always well capitalized, so their CEOs and chief scientific officers can focus on advancing the sciences.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Nancy. Appreciate it. Now I would like to open it up to questions from the audience. Maybe Mark, if you'd like to.
Absolutely. We do have a couple of questions. Let's start with Anthony Ginter for the first question. He has a need for several scientists and product design engineers in the next months. What should be their first steps?
So I'll answer that really quickly. First of all, I would say that each one of the counties in Florida have what's called Career Source. It's a publicly available organization that offers free job placement services. They often have a lot of resumes available. That would be a way for you to find the state offering services to support companies looking for talent. The second thing I would actually say would be to connect with the Genesis and her organization to see, depending on the, how senior these people need to be, her organization might be able to help provide the talent from some of the universities. And, then the third part would be to go to some of the clusters themselves, some of the company incubators, et cetera, and talk to some of the local companies to see if you can find some available opportunities there.
Thank you very much, Robert. A comment from Chris Elmar, just to say that Anthony's company is supported by Enterprise Florida France, and they do have a booth in the expo area. If you want to network and connect with Christelle, please feel free to go directly to the booth at the end of the session. You're very welcome, Anthony.
And if I can put a plug in for Enterprise Florida really quickly. So Enterprise Florida is a statewide economic development organization. They're the umbrella organization, and they're certainly the first stop that you should go to if you're looking to place a company in Florida, because they can tell you about the local resources in each and every one of our counties across the state. Please, Mark.
Thank you. Okay. Question from Sebastian Lanier. In South Florida, is there a prominent life science, oncology, cardio, neuro, or is it mixed?
So South Florida is certainly mixed. One of the things that has been a tradition in South Florida has been, we've been a strong retirement community, as well as having a young, vibrant life sciences cluster that's growing now. And so as a result, we've had a significant presence in some of the diseases of aging, cardiology, neurology. So the Max Planck Institute, for instance, that we mentioned is the Max Planck Institute for Neuroscience, where they do the neuroscience research, is in Florida. We have significant infrastructure in a lot of diseases of aging. That's starting to change, but I think those are the areas where we also find significant investment opportunities, because typically those who have made their money and have semi or soft retired to Florida, the former executives that were mentioned by Daniel, et cetera, those people are seeing their neighbors challenged with diseases of aging, and they like to invest in or philanthropize into those types of diseases. So we see a lot more activity in those type of disease states.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
No more questions for now. A lot of comments, which I don't know if you want to add anything to the table and the subject that we tackled today.
Yeah, certainly. I'm more than happy. So if you'd like to know more about the life sciences, again, I say the first stop would be Enterprise Florida. The state also has a statewide trade organization called BioFlorida. BioFlorida is hosting its annual conference on October 29th. So there's still opportunity for you to join a virtual conference where you can learn more about the life sciences. Each one of the counties in the state of Florida traditionally has a local economic development organization. So you'll be hearing from Miami in a future call this afternoon, or I think actually later this morning. And Broward County as well, you'll be hearing from. Each of those counties have a life sciences representative, as well as Palm Beach. And so as you want to learn more about the resources and opportunities that are available, start with Enterprise Florida, work with your local economic development organizations, visit the trade organizations, and really figure out how to, what resources are available and how you can move your company to Florida.
Absolutely. Relocating to Florida, from whether it's from Europe or from Latin America, will be tackled mostly tomorrow. We have lots of roundtables of all the ins and outs of how to come to Florida and start your business and really get started here, get cracking.
Absolutely. And I'll also put in a plug for our research institutions. Nancy mentioned those, but those that are part of Life Science South Florida, as well as the University of Florida. The University of Florida has over a $900 million research budget annually. And with that, 75% of that is in the life sciences. So if we have any successful entrepreneurs that are looking to move to Florida to start a company, I highly recommend you connect with these research organizations and see what technologies are available to potentially license the technology and start your own company. Maybe you can have a company in Nancy's incubator or somewhere else, but certainly reach out. I'm happy to help with the University of Florida. And I'm sure, Genesis is happy to help you with any of the South Florida universities to find the right partner and maybe the right technology. We also, please. And one other thing I would say there is those universities also offer sponsored research opportunities. So if you don't want to necessarily do the laboratory research, how that works in the United States is the academic institutions offer fee-for-service research opportunities within their laboratories. Genesis, I apologize, please.
No, sure. Thanks, Robert. Another thing, if you are interested in networking further in the days to come, learning more about who our talent consists of, and also getting to meet other emerging industry entrepreneurs and leaders, we are hosting Life Sciences South Florida is hosting a virtual event specifically for women entrepreneurs and business owners, women in STEM, on October 30th. So if you do want more information on that, please feel free to contact me. I did share my LinkedIn profile, so you can contact me there if you want. It's open to the public and it's free. So it's a good space to get a temperature for what's happening right now, specifically with women-owned businesses and entrepreneurs in life sciences and STEM more broadly.
Wonderful. Thank you. And it looks like, I guess Daniel has gone. So any other questions?
So far, we don't have any more questions, but if you do have questions, I really invite you to go to People, which is in the top right corner of your screen, connect with Genesis Ramirez, Nancy Torres-Kaufman, and Robert Mino, and also Daniel, who just left, but just connect and ask questions. You have probably their LinkedIn and Twitter on there, or at their website. You can connect. And also all of our sponsors who are present in the expo booth, which is right there on your screen. They're here for you. They have an invaluable amount of insight, of tips, how to come here, how to start a business, how to come to Florida. So do take advantage of that. If we don't have any more questions, let me see. We could close this table. We will be back with the Miami Trade and Logistics Hub at 12 p.m. At 12 p.m. indeed. If in the meantime you do want, oh, Daniel, you're back. Hi, welcome back. So if you do want to connect and network, go for it.
Thank you. Appreciate your time, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all of you. And thank you. Have a good one.
Bye.